Hi, welcome back to the Polymer Clay channel. So today I'm going to do something completely different. Now I know I've said this on a few videos before, but this one is all about what I use, the tools I use, the cool tricks that I've used before and perhaps you haven't noticed. I use strange tools sometimes and I wanted to show you all of the different types of tools that I use and what they do. I'm also going to talk about ARTEZA clay and a little bit more information about what it comes with and things like that and who it would be good for. So the idea of this video is to give me a bit more time as well, because I'm planning on a video that's going to take me about a week. So this will go up when I'm still working on the other one, hopefully. And to be honest, it's also to help you guys out so that you can see what I use, how I do it. And you know, I didn't have this kind of help when I first started back in 1995, and I really wish there was someone that could do it for me. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it for you. So yeah, this video is probably going to be a long video. It's going to be about an hour, but it's worth watching all the way through because there's some hints and tips and, to be honest, things I didn't even realise that I had. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. So here we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk through the entirety of this video, which is really unusual for me because I like my silence when I make stuff. I don't really like to talk at the same time, based on the fact that half the time I don't know what I'm making. So I get a ball of clay like this. I will mix lots and lots of different clays together based on the fact that a lot of my clay is really old. I buy a lot of my clay in bulk, and it was a few years ago that I last bought some, and of course clay after a time goes really hard. Don't let that put you off. It is absolutely brilliant stuff. You can literally revitalize it with just baby oil, which brings me on to this. Now this is just a normal standard baby oil. It's dirty, yeah, because I use it quite a lot, and it's so good at removing fingerprint, anything that you put in it, any sort of cuts that you don't want there, or even you can actually use it to put the clay back together. So if you make a slice, I'll actually show you while I'm here. Let me see if I can find a tissue blade. So let's slice this up. This is going to be used in one of my newer videos. It's going to be one of my next projects, which I'm not telling you about yet because you're going to have to wait for it. So what I'm going to do here is just put two pieces together. Now you can see a really big kind of line in the middle of this. I'm going to use some baby oil and just literally a tiny little bit like this. That's probably a bit too much. And then just smooth it out. And what will happen over this time, as you keep smoothing it, it will slowly but surely completely disappear. So you'll have to keep at it for a bit because, you know, this is kind of, you know, something that you do over time. If you put too much oil over this, you can then use a piece of paper and dab it over and it will leach out some of the clay. So as you can see, it's made a really completely seamless mark there. So when you turn it over, you will actually still see the seam a little bit. So when you're making something, you can actually completely push something back together and use oil, which is absolutely brilliant. It's also good for taking out marks. So if I was going to put in a whole bunch of marks, I haven't got a blade with me at the minute, and then you didn't want them there, and you think, oh, that's right in the middle of my project. So let's take some baby oil and then just rub it over, and they will completely disappear. You have to use a little bit of force because, you know, it depends on how hard the clay is and how long it's sat for, and it will completely disappear. A lot of people use that to get rid of fingerprints as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So I love that. So I'm going to put that aside for now because I am going to use that again, like I said, in my next video. Let's talk about these tools. So I've got all sorts here. They are going to clang about, so sorry about that. I'm going to keep them as still as possible. These ones are quite heavy, so they're very heavy and very weighted. I think these are more like marble type things. Like the sort of the heaviness of a marble. They're all right, but they're a bit short, so I find that I find this a bit skinny to hold on to, and because they're so heavy, you know, it's going to drop and stuff like that, so it does make a bit of a noise. These ones, as you'll see from my videos, are my absolute favourite. And the reason for that is because they're really light, as you can see. And they have the dotting tool, which is a similar sort of feel to this, but it's not as heavy. But on the other end here, it's got like a latex rubber kind of end to it, which is brilliant for smoothing things out. So I like smoothing things out based on the fact that, you know, a lot of things I do cut out with a craft knife, and I don't like a sharp point. I want to basically make it smooth. So yeah, I'll use that quite a lot. Small dotting tool, and also a different one on the end here. It's literally more latex again, similar sort of thing. They are by the same people. These are by Sculpey Studio. These ones aren't the cheapest tools in the world. They're really not, unfortunately. But I do recommend them. And these I bought probably about 15 years ago, and they've lasted so long. They're really, really good. So they're great. These ones here are similar sort of thing, but they're plastic. Now the thing is, you'll find with plastic is they've got seams down the middle. Great, but they're going to mark your clay. So when you do make a mark in it, you're going to end up with like a line across if you're not careful. So they are great. They're very light, and obviously quite often you'll find a dot on the end there as well that you can make really cool dots with. You can't leave these with clay, that's the only thing, because the clay will actually start eating through the plastic. So anything that is plastic, you've got to keep it away from the polymer clay. Okay, so this is very similar. Again, that'll make a different sort of mark. That'll make a smaller one. I don't actually use these very much, but they're actually not bad. And also, think about the different parts as well. So instead of just using the top or the bottom end, you can actually use the side as well. So I've just seen this mark here. I want to see what this does. Yeah, so you can use things like this as well, which is really, really cool. So you don't have to use just what it's actually intended for, the top or the bottom. You can actually use all of the grooves here as well, and I think there's some more grooves on here. I don't know if you can see them on the screen there, but these are actually really good. Yeah, like I said, I don't really use those very much, but I wanted to show all the sort of tools that I've got in my pot, because some of them I haven't used for ages, and I think it's a good opportunity for me to revisit what I don't use and show you what I've got here. So here's some dotting tools also. They're really, really tiny ones. They're great for, well, just basically really tiny holes. Good for also bead making as well. These ones are great for that. So if you've got a bead, let me just see if I can roll one up. Like I said, I don't normally do this real time. I normally sort of drift off into my own little dream world and just make something and then edit it. This is going to be more tricky because I'm going to be talking throughout the whole thing. So we will see how this goes. So yeah, with a tiny one like this, I would probably use that to pierce a bead. So you can go all the way through like that and come out the other end. So with this one, yeah, it makes quite a nice hole in there. With the beads that I make, they're flat one end. It doesn't bother me. I know a lot of people put a lot of effort into making them round again. I don't make a lot of jewellery based on the fact that afterwards I really don't know what to do with it. I don't wear a lot of polymer clay jewellery. Perhaps I really should, because it's really, you know, really popular at the moment. There are so many people making jewellery and stuff like that, so, you know, maybe I should in the future. So that's that one. These are really simple. I'm going to kind of skip over these ones because this one, again, is quite heavy. It's got a nice heavy end to it, but I find them, as I said, a little bit too short. I like the longer ones. So that's those. Let's go to tissue blades. Let's do these ones next. I've got a whole bunch here. So all of my tissue blades, again, you've probably seen in my tutorials that a lot of them are dirty and bent. And the reason for that is because I use them a lot. So as you can see with this one, I've used it like this quite a lot. Tissue blades are absolutely brilliant. They are very resilient, very, very sharp, and it is something that I would definitely recommend that you basically use in your projects. They are all in different sizes and also different sort of strengths. So this one, for example, will not bend. It's a really, really tough one, and that's probably why it's really straight. So I've got a little one here as well. I don't use these too much because I don't know, I find it really difficult, these ones, but this is, again, another hard one. I'm just going to have a look in my little stash somewhere. Let's have a look. So okay, I've got this. This is how they normally come, you know, when they're delivered. I got mine off Amazon recently. I got some new ones, and you have to sign for them because obviously they're blades. So I had to sign for these ones. Right, this has got kind of, I think this is a safety thing, because you have to kind of really pull it to get it out. So these come, I think I got the longest one, so it kind of came like that, I think. But they're also great. So when you want to store them, they stay put in here basically. So this I've kept in here because it's very one of my newer, really sharp ones, and I do keep them out of the way. These are brilliant for that, and I think they do come with these all the time. I will link this in the description, the one I got, because this is really great kind of storage. You can have it like that, and then you can just put the actual tissue blade in there at whatever length you've got basically, and it will actually store it. Right, let me put this back together. Okay, so keeping with the tissue blade thing, I've got a load here. As you can see, this one's bent as well. I don't use these very much, I've got to be honest. I literally haven't really found a use for these, but they're great, I suppose, if you're going to make jewellery that's like wiggly at the end or something like that. I probably should give these a go. I think I might do on my new one, the one that I'm going to use this for. So yeah, you might see these in my next video because I haven't used them and it's probably about time, to be honest. Okay, so let's talk about these holes. So you've got holes here. Now the reason for that is because you can put, so this one's particularly by Sculpey, and you can put blades with the handles, and that's why these ones have got holes in. How you do that is a question. I don't know, let's see, because I haven't actually ever done this. Ah, there we go, so that's quite simple. And then you take the, do you take the blade out from there? No, I'm not sure, let's see. I don't know, but yeah, you take it off here. Oh, there we go. So yeah, you take it off here, and then there are the holes. And to replace them, you can let's just try it on this other one here. There you go, nice and simple. So you put the handles on just like that. I haven't done this for ages, so I don't tend to replace my blades as much as I perhaps should, because I am really lazy. I just want it to go or want it to work. And if I find something that I really like, it doesn't matter how much it costs, in terms of kind of like cheapness. You know, if I buy something really cheap but it works, you know, or something that's not intended for its purpose, I'm going to continue using it if it works for me. So how am I going to get this back on? Oh yeah, it must be that way around. Wow, this is interesting. Okay, so that's back on. So let's talk about, going back to the dotting tools for just a second. I've got one here. Now you may have seen this one that I made. This was so much fun. Basically what it is a pencil. It's a pencil and it's got a marble on the end. So what it does is effectively mimics this. I didn't have a big enough dotting tool for what I needed at the time. So I thought, you know what, let's put a marble on it. And then fortunately, it became a whole video. Yeah, so it's absolutely brilliant and it really does work. It's a nice weight to it. Not as heavy as these. But slightly heavier than these. This one I didn't mention earlier, this one's kind of like quite weighted at the end, but it doesn't kind of like hold. It's kind of, I don't know, it drops out of my hand quite a lot, which is a bit annoying. So yeah, anyway, you can make your own dotting tools and I do recommend it. Get yourself a pencil. It's better if it's blunt at both ends. So all you're looking for with the pencil is just the structure. You don't want the points, nothing like that. I didn't do that on my video. I just kind of built up the clay around it and hope for the best, really. You'll notice on here the chameleon flakes that I used. They are absolutely brilliant. As you can see, very minimal transfer, and they're really great, which I will show you when I do all my kind of mica powders and glitters and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So let's talk about paintbrushes. Now I have an absolute load of paintbrushes, all different sizes, all different shapes. I mean, for example, I don't even know what that's for, but I'm sure some artist is going to really tell me off with using this one for mica powder, because it's probably a really posh, some kind of, you know, paintbrush. But yeah, I've got all sorts here. So I like the wider ones. They're great for dusting off the clay or dusting like glitter off. You know, mica powder, if you've got too much on there, they're great for that. And then I use all the rounded ones. The ones I would really recommend you get hold of, particularly if you do detailed stuff, is a really tiny one. So this one's a bit frazzled because I've used it quite a bit. but it's really good, you know, to get sort of some decent detail in there, to get a really tiny one. Now for all these brushes, you don't need anything expensive. I wouldn't recommend getting expensive because you're going to get it dirty really quickly. And I don't know if you're like me, but if you get it dirty, if you know you've got something all pristine and brand new, does it put you off from using it? Because it definitely puts me off from using it. When I buy something new, I think, oh, it looks so lovely in the packet, I want it to keep there. But no, you've got to get it out, you've got to use it, and you never know how much something will be your most favourite tool ever. So I just found this in my pot as well, so that probably goes with these ones here. And it's got this interesting kind of like cut out here. That will do like a half moon shape like that, but it's also great for glitter. So you can kind of like pour it out from here, scoop it up and pour it out. Now I've got some other ones for glitter. I really like this one. So this one is got like a scoop at the end here, and I think it's supposed to be used for kind of like, I don't know, carving things out. It's quite sharp, but I don't use it for that, I use it for glitter. So on this side, this is one of the ones that I would recommend if you're using you know, polymer clay for jewellery. So if you're going to make things out of polymer clay and you're going to do sort of the majority of say like beads or something like that, you're going to need this for the holes. Now you can put this straight in clay. I haven't got any clay at the moment that is hard to reach, but it's absolutely brilliant for that. So all you'd need to do when you're going to use this is find something that's kind of like dainty like this, bit like that hole. So all you're doing really is making a mark, bit like that. So once you've got yourself a mark that doesn't go all the way through, when this is baked, you've got like a dent to start with, and that is really good for this. This makes absolutely perfect holes. It is really great if you want to make round beads, bake them as they are without the holes and then use this after. But I do recommend you marking it so you've got like a starting point. And as I said, it's just a tiny little mark like that, doesn't need to go through at all, but it gives this a little bit of grip when you've got a hard piece of clay, and it works absolutely great. So let's get this out of the way. Okay, I've swapped pots here, and I have to do that off camera because it was really noisy and I didn't want you to, you know, go deaf. So I'm just going to bring in my other pots here. So you probably won't be able to see exactly what these are, but I'm going to just show you. So this is one of my monster pots. Why I called them a monster pot is because they're just huge. I used a candle jar for this, one of my really nice ones, the big ones. And I thought, you know, I need something to store my tools on. So that's why I made this, because it's just absolutely brilliant. If you're going backwards and forwards with different tools and you need somewhere to put it quickly and then take it off, this is great for that. I've made two of these. I made a really big one and also this one, but this is my favourite, I've got to say. Not sure why. But yeah, so in here I've got a mixture of all sorts of things. I've got a craft knife, some scissors, I've got another dotting tool here. This is also the POLYMER Professional brand. It's suffered some sort of wear because I've had it for so long. But this one here, you'll notice on here, you've got like a rounded bit, so you can press it in like that. But you've also got a flat bit, and I don't really use this flat bit very often, but it gives you kind of like a deeper shape. So if you were going to make some jewellery or something like that, press that in, and what you could do with that is then, I don't know, fill it up with glitter or something. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's quite a nice shape actually. I might use that in my next one as well. I'm using all these tools. I'm finding all these cool things that I've not used for ages. So this is good for me. It's as much as it may be good for you. Okay, so I've got some things here. This one, can't say I'm ever a fan of this one, if I'm honest. This wasn't as sharp enough for me to use as an actual blade. And yeah, it kind of didn't really do anything for me. So it's something that I used to just push clay about really more than anything. And this one, I absolutely love this. You'll notice that it's covered in absolutely loads of glue because I have used it for that. I've used it with mica powder, believe it or not, and also glitter as well. So if I glue something and then I get it in the wrong place, I've often used this, which is really good. I also use this when my glue kind of dries up. and I've used this to actually poke a hole in that. This one's great at the minute, so I'm not going to do it because there's no need. But yeah, I've used that for this loads of times. If you wanted to use something that wasn't quite as expensive, I'd use a piece of wire. I wouldn't use this because this is way more expensive than what I've used it for. Okay, so what else have I got in here? Another POLYMER professional tool. So I mentioned earlier, these aren't the cheapest, but I just want to say these have been collected over years, and people have been nice enough to buy them for me in the past for, you know, presents and stuff like that. This is great. I don't use it for its intended purpose though. So if you look at this, it's kind of got a beveled kind of like edge there. It's very, very sharp, but it's great for kind of like scooping out bits of clay. So obviously you can do this with unbaked clay, but you can also do it with baked clay as well. It's brilliant for that, and it does the same shape. So you just kind of like push it in and then release it, and you've got a really nice groove there. And it's really good for that. And as I said, it works on baked clay as well. It works really great for that. The other side, again, is a really pointy one, so you can get some really good points with that one. It's nice and strong. Good weight to this as well. I don't know if it's important to you, but for me, holding a tool is really important to know how it's going to work for me as well. So yeah, that's, you know, pretty good, this one. Okay, so what else have I got in here? So I've got a load of these sculpting tools. These are good, but if you notice, they're actually really, really bendy. So when you press into clay with these ones, you don't really get much of a kind of impression, because they're not as firm. They're great, but I'll tell you what they're great for. When you put some baby oil on the clay, it's great for kind of like wiping it around. So I've often used that one for that reason. So if you make a great big mark in something, let's stab it properly. So you've made a great big mark. You don't want a great big mark. Let's go up that with the baby oil. Let's put it in there. So smooth it for a bit, and then grab this, and then you can literally smooth it all out. They're sort of good. I mean, they work a little bit. I mean, as you can see, it has smoothed it out, but with kind of like moving it about and things like that, it would be great just for sort of the odd tiny, you know, tiny mark, that sort of thing, rather than this great big gouge that I've made here. But yeah, they're okay. They're not too bad. If you're going to buy something like this, I would invest in something that wouldn't move so much as that. So going on to something that doesn't move as much. Again, this is a professional tool. I think you can get them in a pack now. I think I bought these ones separately, but again, this is why these are worth investing. If you can see the difference in these two, and this is so much stronger, and you'd be able to get a lot more smoothing out with this one. It's really, really good for that. And it moves the clay about quite a lot based on the fact that there's just a lot more strength in it as well. So let's see. Okay, red plastic tools. These are cool. Love these. And the reason why is because they make blunt marks. Blunt marks are really important to me because I don't always want a real sharp point like this would do. So I don't always want that. What I want is something to mark it but not slice through it. So again, that's what this will do. It's going to give a really nice mark like that. And it's just, I don't know, I use this a lot. This one's one of my favourite ones, and it probably cost, I don't know, the whole thing probably cost £1. It was really, really great. So I don't use this one very often, but let's give it a go. There we go, some dots in there. And again, I've just established that I think I might be using this for my new one as well. Wow, I like that. Okay, so I drifted off there for a sec. So this one here is a nice straight line, whereas if you notice on this one, it's kind of like it goes bigger in the middle and then smaller like to a point, whereas this one is a dead straight line. And this one, I don't know, I've never used this. Let's see. Yeah, so this one's kind of like, by the looks of it, a mixture. So you've got the depth of this one, but it's very straight. So this is really cool. I like that. As I said, a lot of the tools that I use, some of them, yeah, okay, they're a bit expensive, but just see it as an investment. If you're starting out and using tools, I would always go for something that isn't going to be a big expense. If you're testing things out, you don't know what's going to work for you. You know, you don't know what you're going to really like. So test out a few things around the home. For example, I've got a ruler here. So let's mimic that one. So literally, there you go, straight line. And with that, you can do exactly the same, not far off anyway, and that's probably straighter than this one. So use things around the house. You don't have to use things that are really, really expensive. There's quite a few things that I've made that I basically thought, oh, I wonder if that'll work. And I've tried it and it works great. Right, so let's tidy up everything. Right, I'm just going to chop this in half so we've got a bit more room to make some more marks on this thing. So here we go with the other tools. Now, I think these are dentistry tools. I'm going to be really gentle with putting these down because they're going to make a lot of noise. They are absolutely brilliant. I don't think they're official ones. I think, I don't know where I got them from. I think it was like Amazon or something like that. I do get a lot of things from Amazon. These are really great because you get a lot of sharp points with them. And as you can see, they're well used. I don't wash them very often. Yeah, so let's just try these ones out. So this one's like a pointy thing. Yeah, so that does exactly what you'd expect. And then on here, a bit of a flatter one. You can make that really deep if you want. So of course with this, if you think about, again, sort of jewelry making and stuff like that, what a cool sort of effect. You can almost kind of like make a flower out of this if you did it better than this. Yeah, so there you go. You can kind of like see where a flower would come into play just like that. And this is just a really simple tool that you wouldn't even think that would make that kind of pattern. Can't think what I've used this for recently, but yeah, it's kind of like great for sort of poking holes in things, I guess. This one's quite cool because again, it's handy for, you know, pressing into things. If I want to make a really big hole, I can just do that, make a circle, smooth it out as I always do, and then you can, you know, get it in there like that. Don't use that too much, but that's kind of handy. Similar with that, this one is just a smaller version of that. This one's more of a paddle sort of look. So again, it would just create sort of deep shapes like that. And obviously, because this is completely metal, you can really, you know, give it some welly kind of thing. You have to really like poke it in there. Again, all of these tools are all going to do slightly different things, but I just wanted to show you my absolute favourite one of these. Now, you would have seen me use this quite a bit. Now, this is my favourite tool for glitter. I don't know why, but this is just deep enough to grab all the glitter that I need and strong enough for me to hold on to it and then gently tap, which means I don't get all the glitter everywhere unless I want to, because yes, face it, sometimes I absolutely love doing that. So yeah, I will kind of like scoop it all up and then just sprinkle it all on just by doing this, and this is a really good tool for that. If I can find this tool particularly on Amazon or wherever, I will link it in the description because I do recommend this one. I haven't got these out yet, so let's try these ones. So I use all sorts of different size acrylic rollers. For me, they're not long enough. I would really like this shape, but like twice as long. But yeah, they're absolutely brilliant. You'll notice on my channel, I don't ever use a pasta machine. My pasta machine did work for a little while, but to be honest, I found it really clunky and really awkward. And I just prefer rolling. Yes, it does hurt my hands after a while. My wrist really does hurt sometimes. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I just prefer rolling. So I'll roll it, and then what I'll do is I'll press it down and then I'll stretch it out when it gets to that sort of thickness that I'm looking for. I don't know why I don't use a pasta machine, but to be honest, you know, this works just fine for me. I've got several sizes. Again, they're all filthy. So yeah, I just use them as they are. I will say on these ones, because they're acrylic, I have dropped this one a few times. I've got some cracks here. If you do need the full length of this, I would suggest you get a new one, because obviously any crack that you see in that, you're going to get a nice big fat mark from it. Bought these two, didn't realise that they weren't as thick as this one, but yeah, these are my go-to. These are lovely. I do have a normal roller, you know, like a pastry roller as such, but it's huge, so I don't always get it out. but this one is really, really cool. You've got to make sure that it's completely smooth. So this one is for icing, and it's really good for that. Again, it's very, very heavy, really, really cool. If I'm doing something really big that I need it really flat, this is what I'll use. Not too sure why I don't always use this. I think it's because I've got so much out here. I don't always find the room to do it. But yeah, again, it works just as great. And I've seen some people use kind of like cardboard or something either side, or a tile, so you can get like, you know, the exact kind of like measurement that you want if you don't want to use a tissue blade. But quite often a lot of the things I make aren't that flat. They're flat, but then they're 3D, so I would make it so that it was flat enough, but then it becomes 3D, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay, so let's move on to the normal stuff. Cocktail sticks, these are really cool. I use them to structure as well. So if I'm making bears or like the penguins I made, I don't think no, not the penguins. But yeah, if bears, if they come in two separate things, so they've got a head and a body, quite often I will structure them with a cocktail stick, because they're great for that. And just pop it in, pop the head on top, or whatever it is you're making. Works great. Also great for marks, obviously. I made this little pot. This is a shot glass. I absolutely love it. It is, again, one of my tutorials. It's something that I just kind of like, it came out of nowhere. I don't actually know why I did it, to be honest, but yeah, I've got like translucent clay in here, some glitter, and mostly alcohol inks. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to try it, because it was really, really cool. But yeah, there is a tutorial for that if you want to see it. Okay, so what else have we got here? So I use a lot of Sculpey products in terms of like the liquid polymer clay and also the gloss glaze. These two are really, really good. But my ultimate favourite is this. Now, it's really, really dirty. So this is liquid Fimo, and for the life of me, I haven't been able to find this anywhere. I don't know why. I don't know if they've discontinued it. But at the minute, I can only find it in gold or silver or black, which is really, really random. So I have kept the hold of this for that reason. There is a little bit in the bottom still. I'm holding on to it for dear life, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any more. So with that, I decided to get liquid Sculpey, and you know what, this is actually not bad. It's just, I mean, it's a very little bottle. I mean, I like getting the big ones, but yeah, this is really great. This is what I used for my Christmas tree, my last video, and it worked out great. Yeah, so that's that. This got a gloss glaze. I don't use it very often. A lot of the things I make aren't glossy, but again, going back to the whole jewellery thing, if you wanted to make some nice earrings, I have actually used this on one of the earrings that I have made. They're sort of big chunky earrings. This was really great for that. The only thing I don't like about it is I'm so impatient, so it took forever. So you had to layer it, wait all night, layer it again. I think I did 3 coats in the end, which took forever, but I think this is one of the reasons why I don't gloss my stuff. It's basically patience more than anything. But yeah, I do recommend it in terms of its quality and all that sort of stuff, so that's really, really good. Okay, so I've got here yet another little pot that I did, but that's not really the focus. The focus is cotton buds, or Q-tips, my lovely American friends over there. I absolutely love these. These are absolutely brilliant for getting off fingerprints, for getting off little bits of fluff. I've got a dog, as you probably all well know. It's great for getting off his fur. And as I said, you know, in terms of kind of like moving around like dots and stuff like that, it's great for giving it a good smooth out. And as you can see, it takes off some of the clay as well. I use these particularly with white clay. So I don't know if you've used white clay very often. It's a kind of like difficult subject for most polymer clay artists, because white polymer clay does get so dirty so quickly. So when I make anything out of white, I am always washing my hands, and then at the end, what I will tend to do before it's baked, I will get a little ramekin of hot water, drop this in, boiling hot water basically from the kettle, drop this in, and then literally just smooth everything out. And it's kind of like a rolling motion. That's what I use, literally just so that it takes off any of the fluff. And it's really, really great for that. I would recommend it's completely wet first, because obviously this is fluffy and you don't want any of that to go on the clay. So make sure that it's fully submerged in the hot water before you use it. Okay, so my next thing, these are amazing. If you're going to make anything out of clay, get lots of these, lots of different sizes as well. So I've got this size, and I've got slightly bigger, and then I've got a very, very big one that I use kind of like to put in my oven. So I would get the biggest one that you could get that will fit in your oven, and then you know what your biggest size is. So if you're going to make something that's, say, I don't know, this big, for example, but you say, oh, I don't know if it'll go in the oven. See if you can get a tile that will match that, like a baking tray or something like that, that you'll know will definitely fit in the oven. And then you can make it on the tile and it doesn't go anywhere. A lot of people that I've spoke to before have used like baking trays and things like that. It's all well and good until you try and get it off. So a tile works brilliantly for that, because when you've got something on your tile and it's stuck to it because you've just baked it on there, you can then slide a tissue blade underneath. If you're worried about the shininess on the other side, you can sand polymer clay creations afterwards. I know a lot of people do that with jewellery, but I tend not to be honest. If I'm concerned about the shininess of it, I will put some foil underneath and part bake it, turn it over, part bake it, and then it works absolutely brilliantly. Okay, I got a few more things here. You'll see how old this is. I probably got this in the 90s, would you believe? I've used a very, very limited amount of this. It's gold leaf. I absolutely love the stuff, but I haven't actually used it in any of my creations just lately. I tried to use it in my Christmas tree on the last video that I did, but yeah, I kind of went off the idea. It's well and truly saved in here. I use a tiny amount and then I basically put it back in here, real safe. I've got copper and also silver as well, but gold is my favourite. I think they still do this. Behad Faber would be my go-to brand for gold leaf. I have bought cheaper brands and I find that this one works just as well. I couldn't tell you the price though, because as I said, it's very, very old, this one, as you can see. Okay, so I don't use this very often, but it was the best tutorial that I saw many, many years ago. You get a hard piece of clay that you just don't know what to do with and ended up falling off something, and you think, oh, I don't know what to do with that. Grate it, and you can grate it into unbaked clay and come up with something really cool. So if you think about it, if you had, I don't know, a piece of white clay with gold fleck in it or something like that, you could shave it all and it would look like kind of like snowflakes. And with that, you can then put the snowflake, put them all on the snowflake and create a really, really cool like snowy effect. So in some of my Christmas crafts, I will be using this for that technique. And I think it's going to be cool. I think that's going to be a great one to do. Okay, so let's talk about these pens that I've got here. These are big round stick and they're in medium. These pens are used to cover and oh, they're absolutely amazing. So all you need to do to cover one of these is take this out. Obviously you're not going to be able to use this anymore. And then cover this. It's absolutely brilliant. You don't need too much of a thickness to cover these. I mean, this video is going to be really all about tools, but I just want to show you kind of like how thick you'd need it. I'd say probably that, and then the thickness would look like that. Now, if you want it thinner, the best thing is to do is to, once you've got it on there, is to roll it lots and then just test it out. But when you bake these, bake them lower than you would normally. Now, I don't quote baking times in my videos based on the fact that I'm in the UK, and I know a lot of polymer clay artists are actually in the US, so it can get a bit confusing when it comes to, and also Fahrenheit to Celsius. So I always put the baking instructions as a general kind of like idea, but I don't tend to draw too much attention to it on that basis. Okay, so let's talk about cheaper clay. So I've got ARTEZA clay here. This is really good stuff. Now, it's good if you're new. If you're new to the clay thing, you don't know what you're doing yet, you've got no idea, you don't know how to mix clay, and all that sort of stuff, this is brilliant. You've got pretty much everything here. You've even got a gold, so it's absolutely brilliant for that. So let's talk about this for a bit. Polymer clay in terms of ARTEZA. I think ARTEZA is the brand, but I've heard a lot of people say that this is kind of like cheap clay, but with the ARTEZA brand. I don't know. I don't know any of the technicalities of this. All I know is that it's very, very soft clay, straight out the packet, no conditioning needed whatsoever. So there you go, it's completely flat already. With normal polymer clay, I say normal, with other polymer clays, it's you're going to have to put the effort in and condition it. With people that are newer to it, they're not going to have the investing time in conditioning clay. Whereas once you get used to it, and once you think, oh yeah, I really want to make this or that, and you know you've got to basically condition a whole bunch of harder clay, that's when you kind of like get more invested. So I would say to anyone that is thinking about doing a new project or a small project like jewelry, this sort of thing, I mean, as you can see, I'm still going and there's absolutely loads in here. I would go for something like this because they're all small little blocks. You can still mix them all together and create your own colours if you want to, you know, but it's kind of like easy. You just think, oh yeah, I need a blue, so let's go with blue. Oh, I need a darker blue, let's go with that one. You know, so you can make all sorts of things out of this. So I did a separate video about a year ago about what sort of ARTEZA is like and how it all works, and I made a little decoration on a jar, which absolutely worked out brilliantly, baked fine, no problems. The only reason I would say that these are not as great is because a lot of people say, oh, they're so soft and they seem cheap and all that sort of stuff. Now, the reason why I would say use these before when you first start is basically you're not going to have the investment, you're not going to want to sit there for hours on end conditioning something. You want instant results. So anyone that starts a new project, they want something that they instantly get gratification from. They want to think, wow, that was amazing, I love doing that. And then they get more and more invested over time. So that's what I did. You know, I did start with Fimo back in the day when I started in the 90s. I think I was, 14 at the time. Yes, I'm old. And I kind of, you know, thought, wow, this is brilliant stuff, but I didn't know what I was doing with it. So I'd make little food items and burgers and all sorts of stuff. I'd make ghost earrings, really, you know, just kid stuff. And you know, looking back, I kind of wasted a lot of it because I didn't know what I was doing. Some of it burnt, some of it you know, didn't turn out how I wanted it to. And to be honest with you, that's why I think this would be absolutely brilliant for someone who's starting out. And as you can see, there's absolutely loads in this. I mean, you get quite a lot of variation in colours and stuff like that as well, which is why I've just got everything out here. The good thing also is that on the box, it does actually state what colours they are. I don't know if you can buy this individually or not, but at least you've got the colour names, you know, so you can kind of like check it out if you want to. And a good thing is also, with this little pack, they have a little collection of kind of like jewellery findings and stuff like that as well. I haven't used these because I like to make, when I make something, when I make jewellery, I want to make it in actual silver because otherwise it tarnishes quite a bit. So, but yeah, for the general kind of like beginner, these are really cool. You know, you can just test it out and see what happens. Some little earring hooks and, you know, all sorts of bits in here. So that's pretty cool. But, you know, my main focus realistically with this clay is kind of like testing it out. So, you know, the idea of you just trying this out is perfect, you know, for that reason. Like I said, a lot of polymer clay artists will say, oh no, it's rubbish and stuff like that. But it's all down to investment. If you know you definitely want to do the clay and this is your thing, I would definitely invest in something, you know, that you are going to want to use. I use Fimo. I don't use any other, very rarely do I use Sculpey and stuff like that. I don't know why, but I think it's because I'm based in the UK. Fimo is kind of like the brand that we have here. If I buy it online, you know, I'll go with Sculpey, but I find Sculpey for me is kind of softer, and a lot of the things that I make is I want it kind of like fairly hard going. I'm a glutton for punishment. And that reminds me, actually, going through kind of like clay in general, a lot of my clay that I use is really old and I buy it in bulk. So I bought my one of my kind of like most recent, which was now a few years ago. I bought it from a lady who did crafts and she was giving it up, and I bought an awful lot from her. And yes, I did spend, you know, quite a bit of money, but it was, for me, it was investment. So I wanted it to have, you know, I knew I was going to use it regardless. However, a few years later, we're talking maybe 5 years later, I'm still ploughing through it all. So that's why you'll see a lot of big clay projects, because I'm using old clay. So I'm using clay that I have to put a lot of work in, put a lot of effort in, and I have to really, really go for it. So what I will do when I condition clay, I don't think about the creation that I'm doing, I'm thinking mixing clay. So with this, for example, I mixed several blocks together. There's all sorts here. You can see some flecks in it as well, because I mixed some ones that kind of like had, it was white clay with flecks in it. And I literally watched a movie while I sat and did it. I don't kind of like, I'm not impatient with it. So literally my only goal at that time is to condition the clay and make it one colour. So I always start with one colour. I don't know why, I'm not sure why I have to have it in one colour before I start. You don't have to if you're using it for scrap. As you can see, it's still not quite conditioned yet, which is why I've poked about with it. And you can always tell if a piece of clay is conditioned by folding it. So if it cracks like that, you need to keep rolling. And what I would do with this, one of my techniques that I use quite a lot, is I actually turn it inside out. So this is kind of like a slow version of what I've done before. So say that it's all kind of like soft on the outside, but it's cracking on the inside. Literally turn it inside out. So put all the soft pieces together like this, however, and then squish it. So what you're doing now is conditioning all of what was in the inside. So when you get this into a ball, you do exactly the same again. Cut it up into halves or quarters if it's really hard, and then just keep at it. And like I said, don't sort of look at it as, oh, I want this project to be done quickly. Polymer clay is not quick. It's not something that you can do all of a sudden, and you know, you have to have sort of patience with it, which is why I said if you put on some favourite show or something, you won't even realise that you've completed it when it's done. And then I let it sit. So once I've conditioned the clay, I let it sit in a ball for a couple of hours, because once you've just recently conditioned everything, it's going to be really soft for a little while. So yeah, I generally sort of mix something a couple of days before I'm going to make something or make another video, and then I re-roll it on the outside, cut it in half, put it back together, and then re-roll it, and then it's ready to go. So yeah, that's the bit on ARTEZA. I think this is going to be really good for someone who hasn't worked with clay a lot before, and like I said, the investment in terms of kind of like the colours and stuff is so easy. So if you want instant kind of like I want to see something that I've made, I want to you know, I want to start quickly, this is going to be your thing. I haven't used a lot of it because as I said, it's very soft, and I'm into making a lot of bigger things at the moment, but I will use this quite often, as you've seen here. I will use it for sort of jewellery when I do make it. If I want a colour that I can't realistically be bothered to mix, then I will have a look in here to see if there is the colour for me. Comes in a nice little handy box as well, so that's really cool. It's not too expensive. I mean, this is very heavy. You get a lot in here for the price. But yeah, any newbies out there that are watching this video, I do recommend it for that reason. So that's the clay. Right, so moving on to my really cool stuff. Let's go with the glitters. There you go. This is the whole thing. So I've got all sorts of things in here. Let's pull it all out. So I've got all sorts. Now, quite a lot of the glitter I get I've got one here by the Beauty Emporium. It is linked in the description. Absolutely amazing glitter. It's really lovely. And my favourite, Smiley's Glitter Store. Can't rank them high enough. They are absolutely amazing. So Smiley's Glitter Store will actually do nail art glitter, and that's what this is. Why I started using nail art glitter, I don't know, but I also use kind of like makeup glitter as well. So on my latest video you'll see this one here. It's by Paint Glow, and this one is basically for makeup. You can put it on your face. It's really really good for, you know, basically it's safe. It's kind of what I'm trying to say, I think. So again, this one here, I've got one. There's a store in town that I go to where I live, and they do a lot of nail art glitters, and like I said, this one is absolutely amazing. I like the kind of holographic look because it really does change the craft products. It really does look really cool. There we go. This is me making a mess. Okay, so what else have I got in here? I've got all sorts of Paper Mania. So Paper Mania do a lot of paper crafts, quite literally, but they work quite well. They're really good in the oven as well. They don't sort of burn, that sort of thing, so that's pretty cool. And then, as I said, a lot of my clays that I'm using at the moment come from Smiley's Glitter Store. Again, this one is, all my little ones come from there. So there's a little packet here. I'm not sure why I went for this colour. Can't say that I've used it just yet, but you know, there's hope. So that's really cool. It's a nice colour, Quite often nail art glitter will come with a powder. It will also come with, so it'll be powdery, then it'll be fine particles, and then slightly bigger ones. So it's kind of like a full mix of all sorts. If you want just big glitter, so particles like that, look for glitter that doesn't have a powder with it. So you're not looking for the fine part. So as I said, yeah, I've got my own mix here. So this is bits where I've kind of used it and then put it back together. I've used a little glass jar. These are brilliant. So if you can get hold of some of these for all your glitter that you kind of sprinkle everywhere, put it in a jar and save it. You might like it. You might like your own mix, basically. This one's from the Beauty Emporium. I absolutely love this one. So this one's a glitter. Fine glitter, so it's not powdery, but it goes on really nicely. So when this goes on, this will actually mark the clay in gold, and it's almost like mica powder. It's lovely. And then I don't know if you can see it too well, but it's actually got like different multicolours in it as well, and they really do catch the light. And I use this a lot on gold and also black Fimo. It looks really nice. Some glitters you're going to need to test it first, because some glitters will look completely different once you've got it on a piece of clay. I always test it out first. So when I'm making something, I'll take a little bit off and put it to the side. And then if I have to test it beforehand, otherwise, you know, it can ruin stuff and you'd be like, oh, I don't like that. And then you've got to take it all off again. Never used these, but these are little stars. They're very plasticky, so when putting stuff like this on your clay, you do have to watch it for the oven. So what I would probably do is stick one on, get the shape of the outside and pull it off, and then stick them on after. That's probably what I would do. So what else have we got in here? So this one, a glow-in-the-dark butterfly mix. Absolutely love this. So it's got little tiny butterflies in it. So there is a powder, and there's a fine sort of powder. Then there's bigger particles and little ones in here. Let's just see if I can get some on my hand so you can have a closer look. I don't want to waste too much of this, so I won't do too many. So yeah, as you can see here, I don't know if you can see that too well, but there's so much in here, so many different ones. And I think there's a star there and a moon, and it's just really, really pretty. There's a butterfly there as well. And this is holographic, but it's not just holographic, it is actually glow in the dark. So if you put this on glow in the dark clay, it just complements it. You can see it during the day, and then at night time it will glow up. It looks really cool. And again, all of these I've collected over a few years, and they're all sort of different. I mean, I still keep like empty packets because there's a bit of dust in there that I might want. So if you're an artist, you'll know that you just keep everything, and that's why there's kind of like a long-standing joke, you know, where, you know, people kind of like hoard glitters and craft stuff. And I think this is probably why, because you think, oh, I can use that for this, and then never do, and go back to it sort of 5 years later, and then you use it all the time. It's really funny like that. So this one's called Fairy, again, by Smiley's Glitter Store. Absolutely love that. It's really, really pretty. It's got a silvery kind of like purple effect. It's really nice on that one. But yeah, as you can see, I've got all sorts here. Some big particles, some very, very fine. For example, this one, I use this on my Christmas crafts. And it's got a really, really fine sort of almost snowy kind of effect. So it's really nice for anything white. This one goes on really well with white. I have no organisation techniques whatsoever. So literally that's what it is. And that's how it's going to stay. Okay, so other bits and pieces that I use. Chalk pastels are absolutely amazing. Now, as you can see, I use white quite a lot, and then some of the others as well. These are really great if you want to mimic food. For example, I would use probably that one and some of the browns to give the clay sort of an effect of like it's being cooked or something. But these are really good because you can use white polymer clay, and then you can change the colour with chalk. I haven't got any white polymer clay to hand, but it's really simple. I would just literally take out a little piece here and then shave it down like that and use that to colour the clay. It does give kind of like a dense sort of covering. It is dusty, doesn't give a lot of shimmer, but it's great for sort of like I said, the sort of almost a really, really light hint of colour. So yeah, you wouldn't colour the clay completely, but it is good for that. Okay, let's talk about these absolutely amazing mica powders. These are by ARTEZA, and I think that's the right way how to say it, but I recommend these, and they're always linked in my description of my videos because I love them that much. Okay, so let's open up the box. There's 24 in here, and as you can see, I have used them because they're all fluffy. But yeah, there's so many colours here. I use them quite basically in every video that I use mica powder, these are the ones I use. They've all got a nice name to them, but to be honest, what I really like about them is what comes out of them. So for example, this is like, this is called turquoise. I'll get my little scrap piece again. Again, it's always handy to have a scrap piece of clay, you know, out of the colour that you're using, because if you're then going to hit it with some mica powder or glitter or something and it goes completely wrong, you're going to be really gutted. So I would always have a test piece so you can see what it's going to look like basically. Okay, so now this is why I love this so much. So I have used this one before, but obviously not on this clay because this is a fresh piece of clay that I'm going to be using. So I've not tested this out before. I just want to show you how pigmented this is. So instantly it's turned the bluey sort of clay into white, obviously green clay. And it gives it a really nice shimmer. It's not powdery, so it's heavy pigmented, as it says all over the box. So it basically means that you can put quite a bit on, and if you want it to be really, really solid in terms of the actual coverage, you can pat it on. It's really good for that. So I've just patted it all on, and it's all the clay, as you can see, has now gone a really lovely greeny colour. The colour that it comes out will obviously depend on what you're using. So for example, if I'm using black or white, white would look completely different to the black. It maybe not look as holographic. So there's quite a nice shimmer to this. It's really, really pretty. But yeah, this is just an example of why I love this mica powder so much as well. And I think there is some transfer. Yeah, there is. But if you look at sort of smoothing it out afterwards, clay actually does look as if it's green. So you can completely change the colour of this, and as you can see, it's really now really, really smooth. But yeah, it's absolutely, I love this stuff. It's really, really cool. So yeah, I do recommend getting this. As I said, I think it's about £15, you know, for the 24. I haven't found a bigger box of this. I haven't found more colours. I keep looking out for it. I think you can buy these individually. They're worth the investment of the £15 to get these. They do come with a little seal at the top. I think I've opened all of these. But yeah, they're sealed at the top, so when you get them, you just have to peel that off. But they're really, really good in terms of, and they go far. So even though these are tiny, tiny little pots of them, the colour is just, yeah, like I said, it goes really far. Let's just try this pink as I got it out. I just want to see what this, oh crikeys, there we go. Don't want to use all that, but there we go. Okay, so this is the opposite side, and obviously it's got some green on it as well. I'm just going to pat it all on here just to see what it does on the opposite side, just to give you a clear idea of kind of like how great this is. I've used this on many projects, and you can pat it on and have it as heavy as you want or have it as light as you want. It's really, really good for that. So let's just smooth that out. So yeah, there you go. So that's the pink side. You can see some of the clay through it. And again, it all depends on what you're looking for and what coverage you want. If you want it more of a pinky colour, I would use it with pink, and then this would give it the kind of the shyness and the shimmer. And that's obviously the other side. So let's just see what it does in terms of layering effect. Yeah, see, this is really lovely for that. Okay, so now if you want to blend them, even better. So you can see now this has got a green bottom to it and then a pink kind of like top as well. So it's really, really given that kind of blend as well. It's really great. And as you can see, it's gone all over my hands and it's all pretty. Okay, so I've got Posca pens here. Posca pens are one of my new things that I really, really like using. And they're great for once the clay is actually baked. I don't put this on unbaked clay because it doesn't work basically. I've got a glass tile here, so basically I just put it on here and use it like paint. So I put a little blob there and then I basically make dots, draw all over it, and it dries. I'm surprised actually because it actually dries matte. It doesn't dry glossy. So I've used it on my steampunk horse because I just wanted it to kind of like brighten up a little bit, and at the time I had put a lot of mica powder on it, so I didn't want it to have that dusty effect. And I don't think I used the Narzo mica powders at the time, so I actually wanted to use these instead, and they worked out really well. So I've got the basics on here. I've got the black and I've also got a silver as well. but they're just really, really great pens. And I said they're brilliant for baked clay, so I wouldn't write on this. I don't know what this will look like after, so I'm going to let this dry and just see. But yeah, it looks like you can write on it, but I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest. I don't know if it's going to wipe off. It might or might not. I'm not too sure of that. I'm going to bake that and see whether it'll actually wipe off after. So quite often I will use this on baked clay and I would highlight with it. So I'm not going to go drawing all over it. I don't colour anything in. I literally highlight with it, and it works really well. So yeah, they're the Posca pens. Okay, so now I've got myself suitably all messy with mica powders and gloss and all sorts of stuff. I would recommend a baby wipe. Baby wipes are really great because they literally just take everything off. I've never seen anything. I've tried washing my hands loads and it takes twice as long. So yeah, I use a baby wipe, and I also use it for here as well. So on my tile I would use, once I clean my hands, and then I would use it on the tile as well. And it's just great for that because, as I said, I draw all over my tile anyway, just to test things out. I chuck glitter and mica powder and all sorts all over it, and it just comes off. It's really, really great for that. I've recently got this whole tile on my desk. Before I'd use larger tiles squished together, and it just didn't always work out because it literally, you know, kept scooting away and stuff like that, and I couldn't get a tile big enough. So I've just recently got this, and I got it for my birthday, which has really, really made me happy because there's no seam. Anything can just get chucked all over this, and it literally works out brilliantly for my videos because I can make as much mess as I want and then clean up really quickly. Let's talk about nail polish and jewellery. So nail polish, I do paint my nails from time to time, but it isn't very often. The reason why I don't is because polymer clay will eat through all of your nail varnish. I painted my nails in this lovely, lovely blue the other day, and then I used glitter and all sorts, look lovely, and then I made a project and it all literally all slid off. So polymer clay for some reason will eat through all the nail polish and it will literally look horrible. So I don't wear any for that reason, and you know, some people do in their videos. I don't know how I can get it to stay on, so I just don't do it. And also jewellery, I do wear jewellery in my videos, but I don't recommend you wearing any diamonds or anything that you don't want clay to get stuck in, because it will get stuck. Now this ring, for example, it does get stuck all in here, but I'm kind of used to that now, so that's just what I do, and very rarely do I take any of these off anyway. Yeah, they do get in the way sometimes, like if I'm pressing something down and my ring will just imprint wherever it feels like, but to be honest with you, I'm so used to it that you know, I don't notice it anymore. So if you don't want anything like that, take your jewellery off, and particularly anything that you find precious. As I said, anything expensive, definitely make it come off, because yeah, this will get stuck all in it. Yeah, if you do, for example, forget and you get it all stuck in there, I would use a toothbrush, and say for example this one here has got a few kind of like stones in them. I'll get a toothbrush and some dish soap, fairy liquid, whatever you can, you know, whatever you can get to hand, and give it a good brush and it will all come out. So yeah, this video is ridiculously long, so you know, I hope you stuck around to this bit, and yeah, I'm probably going to do an outro now, so yeah, see you at the end. Thanks for watching the video. So I know that was different to what I normally do, but I wanted to kind of like give you an insight as to kind of like bit sort of the background of what I do and how I do it. I don't really kind of do much with my tools normally in terms of showing people and talking through my videos. I do find it quite difficult to concentrate on an idea when I haven't planned it out and then talk you through it when I don't know what I'm doing myself. So that's kind of like the plan of my videos, that there's no plan, and I prefer it like that. And the reason why I like it is because it challenges me to do something that I haven't done before, which is what my next video is going to be, something else that I've never done before, and it's like a challenge sort of process. Yeah, so that's kind of what this video was all about. So as development of my channel goes ahead, I now have a wonderful 1,430 of you. Thank you so much. I have noticed that recently I've had a few more subscribers. Some of you I recognise, some of you I don't, but you know, if you want to just comment and we can have a chat, if there's any questions, please let me know. Over the next 6 months, I am going to be looking at merch. I know it's probably a bit too early for a channel this size, but you know, I just want the ideas. So if you can think of something that you would like to see in a merch shop for me, or from me, should I say, I'm thinking something like aprons, maybe not t-shirts and hoodies because everyone does that, but something useful. So something with pockets maybe, I don't know, you let me know. I'm also thinking about opening up my Facebook page so that you can share your creations of what you've made. I'd love to see that. Someone that I connected with a little while ago on a page that I follow showed me something that she made from one of my tutorials and I absolutely loved that. So yeah, I'm thinking about opening up my Facebook page so that you guys can comment on that and show me what you make. So let me know if that's something you would like to see. Thank you for watching. There are no glamour shots on this video because I didn't make anything, and there'll be some bloopers because there always is, and I've rambled on like crazy, so there'll be something I can chop about for the end anyway. So yeah, lastly, all I have to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. So I wanted to do this video really just to help you out and see what you think about how I make things and what I do with it. Should we start again? Because that was a load of shit, wasn't it? A little bit more information about what it comes with and things like that, and who would it be good for. And you know, I like it like that because it gives me an opportunity to show someone, so it gives me an opportunity to show you how I do something, but then what obstacles. And I like it that way because then it shows kind of like what obstacles I got. And I like it that way because then it shows what could. Am I talking English today? I don't think I am.